Daniel had resolved to be different, and his difference was empowered by God. It was defined by God, and his difference made a difference. And one of the things Daniel did different is he had a different confrontation. Daniel found himself in situations where he had to confront people, but not friends and family members. He had to confront kings and leaders who could have had him put to death. And he did it well, and he not only honored God, but he honored the people he was confronting. How he did it made a difference. It was different. You know, there are really times in life where you find yourself where you might have to confront somebody, and there's two confrontational extremes. Some people are unwilling to confront. It's none of my business, or live and let live, or who am I to judge? The other extreme is some people confront in an unloving way. They kind of do a drive-by confrontation, and they don't value or honor the other person. And either we don't take a stand or we stand up in the wrong way, but there's a way to do it right. There's a different kind of confrontation that God can use, and it's modeled for us by Daniel in Daniel chapter 4. One thing to prayerfully consider is something the Apostle Paul wrote in Galatians 6:1. He said, and this was in the New Living Translation, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the temptation yourself." You know, one way to think about it is, God, help me confront with the goal of restoration. Help me to get them back on the right path. If you can start from that goal, then you can have that approach that's different of humbly and gently helping that person back to the right path that God has for them. The goal of being right, or the goal of helping others be right with God, that's the choice. Do I want to be right, or do I want to help others be right with God? That's what we see in Galatians 6:1. The goal of being right is never a good goal. But if you approach it with gentleness and humility, God can use that different approach and that different confrontation to make a difference. The other thing to think about is to pray is, God, help me confront with caution so I don't fall into something myself, whether it be pride or even just falling into a different pattern that the person's in that you need to confront them with. Galatians 6:1, the second part said, "And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself." When you're confronting, you're vulnerable to pride. You can see yourselves as above others or even sometimes below others, but what we need to see is we're all below God. We all submit to Him, and our goal is to help others connect with God in a meaningful way. Daniel once again had to go to King Nebuchadnezzar and have a hard conversation with him to confront, and he had a different confrontation. And he told the king what was going to happen, and the king didn't respond right away, but eventually he did. In Daniel 4, verse 34, the king responds after he goes through a really rough process that Daniel tried to navigate him through. And he says, "At the end of time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the God Most High, and I honored and glorified Him who lives forever." When we confront in the right way, we can't control how people view us. Our goal is to help them view God, respond to God, and connect to God in a meaningful way. A different confrontation, a God-defined, a God-empowered, a God-honoring, and a people-honoring confrontation can be used by God to make a difference in how we approach others with that goal of helping them connect to God. And as we do that, we're making sure that we're connected to Him as well, and our attitude is right. Your difference makes a difference. And when God empowers that difference, He's going to sometimes call you to confront somebody. Make sure you have a different confrontation that looks like how Daniel did it.